Good evening, everybody. We are back with the League of Legends University Tournament Varsity Qualification Playoffs, brought to you by the Null and sponsored by Amazon University Esports, Twitch Student, and Levi's 24/7. Join today and earn points with every purchase with the link in the panel down below. My name is Trajan, Melvin Izzle alongside me once again, and tonight we've all got front row seats to see who will be joining the top 8 from Swiss and qualify into that spring varsity tournament.
Oh yes, Trajan, it's going to be a wonderful evening of games. We've got a best of 3 coming at you between Surrey Stags and Hertstuck, two South teams that are vying for that last spot in the varsity bracket next year.
Yeah, for sure. Just to clean up once again, very briefly, Ash, Jin with Gale Force, and MF with Gale Force are still banned away, so we'll not be seeing those champions as they are still exploitable, bugged as heck preseason. We love you, we hate you, it's all good though. So let's move forward on Surrey Stags versus Heartstuck. Beside the fact that they both have deer imagery, which I personally have been workshopping and labbing all week, you guys. But let's take a look at Surrey Stags first. This is a team that missed out on varsity by 1 win in the winter split of 2019 because they missed the check-in. Here they are back again, 1 win away from varsity. Do you think they'll be able to make it?
I think that they have been doing one hell of a showing. They finished 12th in this winter bracket, meaning they only barely qualified for this attempt back at varsity. So very close on their side, but they've been running this bracket so far. They played against Lancaster AUE, the 5th northern seed, and the 8th seed from south, the Cabbage Mandem, and pretty handedly handled the first, and the latter was a bit more of a struggle, but they're here now. They've had quite the difficult journey, whereas Hertstuck, not as much.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was the 6th seed coming in, so significantly higher placing in the rankings, but if you look at their actual record, both of these teams went 8-4. That is 6 places divided just on opponent match win percentage, about 5% between the two of them. So depending on how much you weight that, I mean, it's not something that these teams can control, but you know, they had the same record, they had the same amount of losses, so Heartstuck versus Surrey Stags could be deceptively close, despite the fact that, as you say, Surrey Stags technically only just made it. This is definitely a very strong contender. They themselves said that they were contending for top 4 going into this one. They didn't make it in the Swiss bracket, but they still have a chance to make it into varsity nonetheless.
Absolutely so. And frankly, while they haven't got that top 4 just yet, it's next split that they'll be looking to fight for it if they can win this game today. And we did hear from the Surrey Stags that most of this roster did in fact play against Hertstuck last year. Not necessarily all the same players across the board, but they did beat them in the NSE last year. However, they haven't seen them for a while, so this is a relatively blind matchup coming in from both teams.
Yes, for sure. So late history, but nothing recently. And I mean, to be honest, unless these teams had been scrimming about 6 weeks ago, anything that they would have learned from that is out the window with preseason. Anyway, and not just to say that, we have had some patches drop for the first time in preseason. We've got our first line of changes that have come through. I guess, Melvin, my question to you is, do you think any of these changes that we saw in the last patch are going to particularly impact either of these teams?
As far as it goes, I think it's probably worse for Surrey as far as looking at the different changes. We did see them on broadcast a couple of weeks ago, taking full advantage of the extremely broken Kale on Ekus. They were doing a hell of a series. We actually managed to watch 2 of their Kale games where they popped off in both. On the most recent patch, they had a bit of their passive nerfed. Riftmaker, a key item for them. Nash's Tooth, a key item for them. Lichbane, a potential luxury item for them. All nerfed down. Kale, still quite strong, but not in that almost unkillable god level at just once they tick over to level 11 and 2 items then. So, handleable. That hurts Surrey a little bit, but not necessarily as much at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. So Kale, perhaps not blind B1able quite as much. However, if we look over to the mid matchup, Cerule in the mid lane for Heartstuck has I would say, a very interesting champion pool. If you look at the Review.gg, there's one champion that really stands out here, which is the Aurelian Soul. This man has a 5.23 KDA over his first 11 games in it on the ranked preseason with a 73% win rate. This champion, he is performing very, very well on, but beyond that, there's not actually that much to see, it seems.
Yeah, quite a shallow champion pool as far as it goes. They're really hoping that they can get this through pick and ban. In tournaments like the Null, you can kind of almost rely on these pseudo one tricks where as long as you're good enough on 1 or 2 backup picks, you do always force that ban. And this is the point where it starts to get questioned though, because when you go into best of 3s like we have today, you can start to see maybe we'll let through the Aurelion Sol. Maybe they'll let through Ekus's Kale. Maybe some of these other champions could slip through, like Lamborghini for potential. Maybe their Jhin gets through or it gets contested in the first round. So we'll have to see which gets thrown up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Lamborghini, I remember last time we were casting them, pulled out the Samira as well to great effect. I believe Samira either was just nerfed or is about to be nerfed on the next patch, but either way, this champion is not going to be this strong for too much longer. Jhin as well, obviously, has settled into the most played, most dominant, just all-round best champion on this patch, so I imagine we'll be hard-pressed to see both of those throughout this series. I imagine Heartstock will look to take those away, but once again, if we have, on one side, a player from Sorry Stags that has some really strong power picks we know they like to abuse. On the other side, we have the player from Heartstock with a zany pick that they're evidently performing very well on, but not too much else. And Diamond Storm in the bot lane has been playing a lot of Lucian so far this season.
Yeah, we saw a lot of them last split as a mid laner. Lucian, just in general, they were very powerful, pretty much ruled the world's meta of ban or lose, basically, is what it turned out to be. And they've had a bit more of a rough time coming into the preseason, where it was a couple steps where people thought the champion was pretty much gone, couldn't play mid anymore. But they've recently had a little bit of a resurgence. They got the Kraken Slayer, that 3-hit pseudo Vayne passive item buffed. So right now, Lucian loving that, and does mean that they have a fair bit more viability in this bottom lane, where they can get through those initial few levels where Lucian is not exactly the terror he used to be in the 2v2 lane. But once he gets to 1-2 items, then he keeps actually scaling with a lot of luxury items like the Navori Quick Blades that can reduce your basic ability cooldowns coming in as the game goes on, making him quite the threat, actually, if piloted well.
Yeah, and I actually have a quiz question for you, Melvin, as well, based on the Navori Quick Blades, now that you mention it. I was recently casting a game where somebody built Navori Quick Blades and Guinsoo's Rage Blades.
Don't say Gwyn, he said Guinsoo's.
Yep, I said Guinsoo's Rage Blades. So, is it correct that they can no longer crit and therefore have no gain from the passive of Navori Quick Blades?
Yeah, that is completely correct, and is one of the reasons why champions like Master Yi, you don't just see them buy both of these items, because obviously they would love to both crit, reduce their cooldowns, and gain a massive amount of on hit. So a very smart decision by Riot for once to soft lock combining those items.
For sure. But I mean, Navori Quick Blades on its own has such great stats that I think the argument of the player was, I just really want to have 60 AD, 30 ability haste, and 20 quit. Look at all these big numbers. But I mean, it costs as much as a mythic, so maybe it's just not even worth. But who knows? I imagine Diamond Storm, with this many games on Lucian, this much skill, I imagine he knows what he's doing. So if he gets to pull it out, I hope we won't see that anti-synergy. Yeah,
the fingers crossed on that one. I was really hoping that wasn't what you were going to say when you were asking for the pub quiz question on that one. But,
don't do it.
That was the first thing that when I saw this item existed, because it's basically, for all those remember, the Spear of Shojin, second iteration, that I think they stole from Essence Reaver before that. They brought it back now, but they limited it to crit carries only, so don't need to be as scared of champions like the Riven and the Renekton who are making particular use of that. I believe it was, Season 9? Was around about when that was just a play-to-win item, and still okay. But since it's behind a crit wall now, it's not as easy to get to that point, and makes sense as an expensive item that you can top off your build with and have champions like Lucian, like you said, like Xayah, these kind of champions who crit a lot but like to almost act as pseudo-casters, can get some use out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So to circle back to the draft points that we've covered so far, what seems to be a bit of a dynamic that's developing is on one side, Sorry Stags have power picks and deep pools, and the other side, Heartstock have pocket picks and shallow pools. And I'm wondering how this series is going to develop, and what I'm looking for is how Sorry Stags deal with Heartstock in the pick ban phase, because although I can look at pick ban for Heartstock all day and say, oh, this looks very weak, this looks very exploitable, they haven't dropped a game in the varsity qualification playoffs yet. They went 1-0 in the first round, 2-0 in the second round against strong seeds. They beat the 11th seed North Stardust Crusaders in round 1, the 7th seed North in Grey Warwick Academy in round 2. So they're evidently doing something right. But I want to see what they're going to play, because it seems like they can't play too much or aren't playing too much, but whatever they're doing is evidently working.
Yeah, I can agree with that firsthand, that you can get quite far in these kind of tournaments on very shallow champion pools if you have enough spread across your team. that you can force them to have to ban out the Daddy Justice's Galio or Cerul's Aurelian Soul, these kind of champions. If you have to get rid of so many of them, just because you're unsure which you're going to be against, and it's so clearly a comfort for the enemy, that it gets to a point where you ban out 3 and then you realize there were 2 more just hiding in the woodwork waiting to come out. That since we haven't had Hurtstock on the stream as of current, there is the potential they've got a fair few more picks lying in wait that we just haven't had the chance to see. That some of these other teams may have been able to communicate with each other, might have been asking opponents if, what's their fallback pick? This is the kind of research you can try and do if you have the ability to see who you're against, which teams have had for this week over to now.
Yeah, for sure. So if we have potentially Heartstock with a bit of a mystery in pick ban, we don't really know what's going on there. We have a lot more information on the side of Surrey Stags, but are there any picks that Surrey Stags could bring out that are a bit interesting, are a bit spicy? Some pocket picks that they could maybe throw Heartstock off balance with?
I would say that Vladimir, probably for Ekus, they are a champion that has been banned most of the games that I've managed to catch where they've been playing, and for good reason. They are doing very well in this pick. Vladimir is a champion that benefits a lot from items like the Rocket Belt, getting Pen, getting all the stats that they love. And frankly, if they make their way through pick ban and the matchup looks right, I'm excited to see what they can do in a team fight with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I see some mean Vladimir play in the first few weeks myself as well. Unfortunately, we are going to have to put those thoughts on hold very briefly. We're going to go to a short break until we can get these teams all prepped and ready to go live very shortly. With that said, we'll be back in a little while. Welcome back, everybody. We called for a brief break, and this time it actually was one. We are back in, and we are going to get stuck into this pick ban very shortly as we have Surrey Stags and Heartstock ready to go.
Yeah, God bless. We actually get a minor break, and you're not. There was definitely nothing that happened, and we're currently looking at the teams getting ready to throw into champ select. And I am excited to see where these champions start to go. I'm imagining Kale is going to be one of the first champions we see hit the ban bench because both teams can play it.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned Ekus, and Daddy Justice has a little bit of experience of it up in the top lane as well. Kale still, obviously, given how strong it still is, can be easily flexed around the map. As we do jump into this pick and ban, and now I'm looking for the pocket picks. I'm looking to see what Surrey Stags want to target away from Heartstuck, and what Heartstuck choose to do, what they can pull out of the bag if they're kind of pinched a little bit.
Yeah, and as we can see, Heartstuck got choice of side as the higher seed, and they opted for blue. This is likely because when it comes to playing against a more flexible team, you don't really want them just taking away anything that you really want on that first rotation. So imagining if Kale doesn't get through, which I don't think it will, then it's probably going to be ADC priority, as we see both the Jhin and the Samira we talked about earlier getting pinched straight away.
Yeah, Lamborghini not going to get the comfort or the strength right there, and there goes the Galio for Daddy Justice. So top lane or not, they do not want to see him on this pick. I believe Daddy Justice actually has another account that is called Galio with some special characters from when I was at op.gg. So, I mean, with that level of evidence, at some point you just have to go, all right, let's just not deal with it.
Yeah, I can't imagine it has a fun time against champions like Fiora, but when Huria, as the top laner for the Surrey Stags, prefers these kind of tanky champions at the moment, Galio kind of gets a freebie through lane, depends. We'll probably see it come up at least one more time in these pick bans, depending on how this game goes. But we see Vladimir, that champion we were talking about, taken down.
Yeah, and the Kayn to round off that first round again. Against the side of the Stags and Heartstuck. So it's going to be the Kale B1 still. They are still confident enough to pick this. It's not going to be for Echoes, it's going to be for Heartstuck. Let's see what they can do with this power pick.
Yeah, with both the Aurelion and the Galio off the table, this could go to either mid or top. Kale just in a pretty strong spot right now. We see the Shen, that is potentially a flex down to support, but more than likely going to be in Hurria's hands in the top lane. They are quite the Shen player. They played a lot last season. It was them and another champion that I will not spoil in case it comes up later, that they played pretty much essentially. This is a proxy pick now coming in, so that Kiana is Leona.
Sure, and we have seen Easy Game GG on the Leona before. The last time we were casting Surrey Stags in week 4 of Swiss, I believe that was the pick. Looked very comfortable on it. Still moving to the support role as not a seasoned support player, but Leona fairly linear and can just build a Sunfire, engage, and have a good time.
Yeah, as far as Leona goes, it's hard to mess up with the actual mechanical aspect. It's more so of your decision making. So when you have a Shen on your back to potentially join you on those dives, at least you do have that extra security of my dives are going to be somewhat sensible, and that doesn't look like a proxy pick. So that is Malphite Rakan getting locked in. That is a lot of hard initiation for the Heartstuck squad.
Oh yeah, with the Kale ult to follow it up as well and the DPS coming in, I'm liking the composition that Heartstuck are putting together so far. They still have their bot laner and I would assume their jungler to take so far. Hannah Baker, or Sacred in that jungle as they prefer to be known, has got a decently versatile pool, one of the more versatile pools on Heartstuck. They can play the Sejuani, the Kane's been taken away, Kha'Zix could be an option as well, as we look towards Surrey Stags again, and they've taken the Lucian away, so Diamond Storm not going to get the comfort there.
Yeah, interestingly enough, this could be either going to Lamborghini or Ekus, depending on how this goes. As far as he is, still a strong champion. We talked about him earlier. They are able to punish champions like the Kale, but not to the same degree that they were able to if this ends up getting chucked into the mid lane. Looking back at the Heartstuck squad, though, with that Rakan and that Malphite, a lot of hard initiation, but in lane, Leona should get the better of Rakan as far as it goes. It has been a bit argued if Rakan can actually escape Leona's CC, but generally, as long as your ADC has any form of, whether it be follow-up CC or just enough damage to burst them out, you can usually kill the Rakan if they ever overstep in the levels 1 to 5.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other way they could get around that is by slinging the Rakan into the mid lane, which, while we have seen it, Cerule already is spamming ASOL with Imperial Mandate, so I don't want to throw anything past this guy. One of the other champions that he was actually known to play when I was looking into him was Kiana, funnily enough, and Zoe is something that could potentially come in for Cerule. But if we look at the rest of the bans, it's been heavily jungle focused. We've got Amumu, Lilia, and Olaf all taken away, plus the Ezreal to further pinch Diamond Storm.
Yeah, Kemba played a lot of these champions. They were a bit of a a hard meta player last split. They played a lot of Graves and they played a lot of this Lilia. Graves still making it through this pick ban, but it would make their team comp extremely physical damage heavy. So we'll have to see if that is an AP Udyr or if they're going to change that pick.
Yeah, we'll wait for the proxy call on that one. I mean, Kenma has a wide pool, but it is the Elise. This is what I was going to bring up before we locked it in, is that Elise mysteriously has come straight back onto Kenma's pool. The guy is 8-0 on it so far in preseason rank.
Yeah, they've been tearing up, and I did hear at the very start of preseason there were murmurs of this Rocket Belt Elise that goes Lichbane.
Yeah.
And that's because the Elise queue, with the change to preseason, some champions got very minor tweaks to make them a bit better in the new patches. Elise's queue now applies on hit. So similar to the Evelynn E, you can get that Lichbane bonus onto it, and it does a lot of execute damage. They can take that with the sudden impact, so they rocket belt into you, get the Q, and it's suddenly just an extra 300 to 400 more damage on the burst combo, keeping her relevant for a couple more levels than Elise was last season at very least.
Yeah, you can be that budget Evelynn, but with slightly more value on the budget, and you still have the better early game. You've got the dive potential that Elise can bring that was making them such a terror when Elise was meta. You could just dive top lane at level 4 and not even take damage using your repel to dodge it.
Yeah, and we actually see the Hecarim and the Kai'Sa pulled out now for the Hurtstuck squad, as we will have to remake that lobby just to get all the proxy picks handled. And looking through, I can very clearly see how Hurtstuck want to play this. They have triple initiators of the Rakan, the Malphite, the Hecarim. That's 2 hard initiators and the follow-up in the form of the Rakan. With a Kayle and a Kai'Sa, this was a duo that was what Invictus Gaming used at Season 8 Worlds copiously, where Kai'Sa sees an opening because you've got your initiators get a bit of CC on whether it be the Lucian, the Ryze, even the Elise potentially. And then she just flies into the backline with a Kayle, and suddenly everybody is exploded on the Surrey Stag squad.
That is a very dangerous threat to be looking out for. And you mentioned the Ryze just got snuck in there as the last pick for Ekus. Something that is, you were talking about to me before we went live, is the fact that Muramana can now still proc. This is going to be taken away in the future, but I believe it can still proc on ability cast. So this is the throwback to Season 3 or whatever it was, Ryze, getting Muramana and just absolutely demolishing fights with the damage procs coming out of that item.
Yeah, it just enables mages like this, Cassio, another hard abuser of this, to get mixed damage in their kit, which, to be fair, this game, I could actually see them just opting for the standard magic damage route, considering that they do have the Lucian and, well, they have the Elise, so you can kind of validate it. It's, we'll have to see what ends up getting pulled out for them, but it is a lot of damage. It's 4% of your mana converted into physical damage that just goes on to every ability that Ryze does. And Ryze, notorious teamfight mage, looking at the other side, though, there is a lot of hard initiation tools to punish them. And I don't think a Shen is going to be enough to keep Ryze alive if that Malphite or if the Hecarim get the better end of them at the start of any of these fights.
No, perhaps not. Echoes is going to have to keep a sharp eye on their positioning, though from what we saw as the Kayle player before, they were able to do that. They were able to be that reliable late-game carry that when the chips are down, they can step up and win you that team fight, and let's see if they can do it again. They're in a similar position. Let's see if they can make it work. This is also, of course, a Ryze that can start tier straight away at level 1, get that stacking up nice and early, avoiding delaying yourself a little bit more. No cheater recall needed. You can just get stacking up and hit that power spike a little bit sooner, which is going to be important when you've got like an Elise jungle. You know, this is not a super hard scaling jungle. This is someone that scales up a little bit sooner, and you want to be as powerful as you can at the same time.
Yeah, an important thing to note is Ryze has very disgusting gank setup. The second they hit that level 2, they had to nerf it a while ago to make it so you couldn't just root you level 1, which was not fun to play against. But it does mean level 2 now, Ryze can level his root. They usually do it first, just for a bit of point-and-click poke. And that sets up so nicely for an Elise to walk on through, throw a cocoon at Kayle, and that will be Cerule off of the table very quickly if they ever opt in for this kind of free gank setup. And looking through, the Elise has really nice windows in every single lane. They have the Shen taunt, they have the Leona, enough said, they have the Ryze. There's a lot of very obvious tools that the Hurtstuck squad will need to play away from and try and be safe against in these early few levels. That means Kenma can dictate this early game.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at this champ select, it has gone from the look of it, fairly evenly. Both teams have a lot of options. They've got a lot of strengths. They've got some power picks. They've got some pocket picks. Looking at the two of them side by side all together, Melvin Izzle, which team comp do you prefer?
Now, that's actually a stylistic question because they both, like you said, clearly have their strengths. If you were opting for the more consistent kind of comp, I would personally go for the Hertzstuck squad on the blue side. That's because it's very obvious what's going to happen. If they hit level 6, this squad gets very dangerous very quickly. But if you are happy to take the challenge that we see the Stags are ready to do and try and force the ticket in these early levels, potentially fish for a level 1 invade, see what they're going to do with all these very early power tools that they can throw out, then they can get ahead enough that they can just shut down the Kaiser, shut down the Kale, and if those two aren't in the game, then the Hertzstuck squad cannot function.
For sure, absolutely cannot function. So when we get into this game, we are going to go to a short break very quickly to get onto the Rift for our first game of this match, the varsity qualification match. Remember, we're going to go to a short spectator delay, of course, so we can still talk about the comps for a little bit. But looking at the way Surrey Stags are playing here, they've got the Leona, they've got the Shen. These are two very tanky frontliners, and from what we heard, they gave us a little bit of insight into how they've been trying to win this game. They've been studying up. They've been looking to some more sources for information. Apparently, one of these teams has contacted Mickey X to try and get some tips on how to win this one.
Yeah, I believe their advice may or may not have been to build more Sunfires. And frankly, if you look at both teams, two very easy Sunfire opportunities that could come out. So let's find out which one opts in to take the most advantage of that item that is getting hit next patch by the nerf hammer. But as we look through, pick a lane. Let's pick a lane and talk about that one, because there's a lot to go through in all these different dynamics.
Sure. So we've touched a little bit on mid lane in terms of how the champions are strong and how they're going to be pushing the waves, but how do you think mid lane's going to go down if you factor the junglers in here? Both of them are strong early. Both of them have reason to get their carries ahead. Who do you think's maybe going to have the upper hand?
Now, I'll be curious to see if Hannah Baker on this Sacred, that Hecarim, opts for the Ignite, the Ghost, or potentially, less likely, the Flash. It's more likely going to be the Ghost, but assuming that, it does mean that Ryze and Elise can have the push for the very early few levels. Ryze does have pretty good wave clear while it shreds through their mana pool. They can get that shoved in, disable the Kale, who cannot push the wave back as quickly, and they can look for potential invades onto the Hecarim. As far as it goes, Ekus is quite the defensive player. They don't really die in lane very often. They rarely lose their tower first. So it's only going to be if their jungler seems to dictate some aggression that they'll actually opt for it themselves. And they're more happy to just sit back. They'll clear the wave. Yeah, it's not like Kale's going to be doing much roaming anyway either. So when Realm Warp's available, then we'll have to see if they can force this ticket straight into a side lane with the pair of them.
Yeah, for sure. A quick side note as well. What's Hecarim's best mythic right now? Is it still Triforce or is it Divine Sunderer? What
I believe right now, I think it's Divine Sunderer is the one that seems to be doing best for them because it offers that tanky stat along the side of it. And to be fair, the opposing squad does have 2 tanks that they can get that max HP, big damage off of. The only thing about the Triforce is it gives attack speed as its bonus, which isn't exactly what Hecarim likes. So usually they opt for the Sunderer just because the mythic passive synergizes a bit better with him.
Yeah, it seems like the only champion that's building Triforce these days is Kindred. That's the only one that I've seen that goes, okay, attack speed's actually good for this champion, but we will have to wait and see. We're going to get into this game very shortly right now. After a short spectator break while we get synced up with production, it's going to be Surrey Stags versus Heartstuck Lock-in Antlers after this break. And welcome back, everybody. Here we are on the Rift for Game 1 of Sorry Stags versus Heartstuck, with the teams running out of the base right now. We have, as far as we can see, a lot of things that we expect in this game, but one thing that we maybe didn't, Melvin Izzle, if we look up to Huoria Shen in the top.
Yeah, one of these things is not like the other, and that is the Ignite Shen in this top lane. Now, expect some early action from them. They're probably going to try and force the ticket around level 2 with this taunt and see if they can get an early first blood onto the Malphite. Outside of that, you can kind of see the logic behind it. It means that they want to be a bit more of a power in these side lanes. Only thing is that doesn't work so well when you end up laning against Kayle later on. So we'll have to see if they can continue to really go with how the Surrey Stags comp wants to and force this ticket early. They keep going hard down that route the further we get into this game already. So let's hope that their playstyle can match their plan.
Yeah, let's hope.
Is that a lane swap?
I think possibly we do have a potential lane swap right now. I mean, I was thinking about it when I was thinking of where Daddy Justice could fit the Galio in. Maybe they just lock it and then lane swap in mid lane. They haven't taken the Galio, they've taken Malphite, but lane swapping, they still are. How do you feel about these new matchups?
That's interesting. I'm going to quickly check and see what runes people have opted for. It looks like they have still opted for magic resist on both the Galio, the Malphite and the Kayle. So, kind of makes sense for the pair of them. They're both ready to go against it. Kayle is going to have a much nicer time than Malphite will in this swap, but as we see from these early levels, the sheer poke that Malphite is getting just off of Q has already chunked Ekus down to half HP with, I believe it's only 2 Qs with procs of the Arcane Comet on them.
Absolutely, that base damage is fearsome, and it's only going to get worse as these levels come through. Daddy Justice prepped with the Corrupting Potion and the Rejuvenating Biscuits to keep him stacking up that mana to bully Ekus. Now, potentially, the junglers can have more of an impact here as well, especially for Daddy Justice. They've got Hecarim ult, and they've got Malphite ult to follow up with as well. Ekus has got to be on his toes once level 6 hits.
Yeah, very much so. I really like this for the jungle of the Heartstuck squad. This makes it so much nicer for Hecarim because they're going to have this just sheer poke that comes down, because neither of their laners was ever going to beat Ryze in the push game, but at least this way, if you're chunking them out constantly, they're not getting to use that mana to shove. And unless this play that potentially goes down top results in a kill, it is going to go so nicely for Kayle in this lane.
Yeah, Warrior now doesn't land the Shadow Dash onto Cerule, but Kenma does have the Cocoon. Stepped aside by Cerule, a little bit of damage going to come through with an Electrocute proc, but Kayle gets away from that gank nicely.
Yeah, they just elegantly slipped away, knew it was going to be around that time frame. They must have figured out that because Elise was starting on that side, that this was about the time frame for the gank, as we see an actual harass coming in the jungle over this blue buff.
Yeah, Kenma has stepped up and is now stepping away. Cocoon lands onto Hecarim. Daddy Justice there to slow them with the Q once again. Warrior coming through Kayle and Ekus. We've got a 3 versus 3 right now. A flash, double Shadow Dash with the damage being thrown back, and Ekus picks up the first kill. Kenma, can they escape? They will slip away from the Malphite. Daddy Justice falls. It's 2-0 in that first
and
fight.
All the theory for Heartstuck, it makes so much sense. They play really nicely in these early few levels, and then they just opt into a fight that they were never meant to win. Huria has the Ignite. We talked about how that is so important if they can get onto this Malphite, but since they put Kayle up there, they were never going to get value from it. They were just going to be stuck in this lane, unable to look for kill threat. And opting into that fight, after the Elise had been zoned off of the blue buff, has put Hannah Baker so far behind on this Hecarim. They're going to be fishing now to try and get back into these early few levels when they're meant to be power farming and just trying to outrun the Elise in these early few levels.
Absolutely, and if we return to Kenma's 8-0 in ranked, Elise right now does have a kill and an assist, plus a CS lead at 4.5 minutes. This is a chance for Kenma to show us why he is spamming this champion, why it's so strong. He's returned up to the top lane. As you can see, both junglers kind of hanging around there, but this time they will not commit for anything.
And this is a really nice play by Kenma. They can see that they know their top laner has Ignite, not Teleport, which means that if, as the jungler, you can punish that and kill them, your lane could set up a freeze, teleport back in and just hold it, or they can just hard shove into the enemy tower and there's nothing they could do. Before Shen hits level 6, they do not have the map mobility compared to just this teleport. So this is the point where Shen is not necessarily at his weakest, but definitely at his most punishable state. So really nice play to protect your top lane there and allow them to get pretty good trades like we're seeing here.
Yeah, Warrior getting an excellent trade there, using the Spirit Refuge as well to dodge any return damages. Now, let's see what they can do with these advantages. Warrior didn't get any kills, but is still abusing the strong matchup. But here we see Echoes, who has the red buff there as well, and is now 10 CS up. Got a kill and assist of their own. Rise, we were worried about how they were going to get bullied by Daddy Justice on the Malphite, but with this injection of gold early on, maybe Rise can just take control of this lane.
Yeah, for certain. The fact that they got to hold on to their flash after the enemy lost it, we see a little bit of a trade happening in this bot, not going to amount to much, but in that mid lane, the fact that Rise now has the red buff on the ranged champion, they can match Malphite in this poke trade. So now Malphite loses out in the push and loses out on the trades. So this whole swap scenario has just been flipped on its head and is back in the favor of the Stags.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, Stag's looking very comfortable as Warrior dives in once again, forces the flash from Cerule, doesn't have their own, doesn't have the ignite. Cerule's going to live from this one, but we see once again a little bit of a 3 versus 3 developing. It's actually a 4 versus 3. Sorry, Stags have committed 4 members onto this Cloud Drake. They know that it's very low. Hannah Baker does have a Blast Cone, not going to bother taking it. They're going to give this one up, not going to give away any more free gold in the early game, it seems.
Yeah, and this is one of the problems of Hecarim before they have ultimate, is they can never opt into these kind of steals. Junglers like Echo, junglers like even Elise herself, can blast cone in and then use their ability to get back out, whether it be repelling to the Scryer's Bloom over the wall or Echo ulting to escape after. You can have these ways to attempt to steal, and that usually means that the enemy can't look for these early dragons. But when you have Ghost and no ult on Hecarim, if you jump in, yeah, you can get the dragon, but you just die if you don't get that smite steal. So it is much worse of a cost if you fail it.
Yeah, they are not getting out of that one right now. As we can see, Cerule fighting back in this top side, going to contest and get that first plate using that large minion wave. Does have level 6 now, so has more ranged options as Warriors. Forced back with the press the attack proc. Wants to not lose out on any of this because there's no teleport. This is what you're trading off. You want the ignite to get that early kill, but now you don't have teleport. Cerule might just get back in the lane anyway using that advantage.
Eye on Echoes, though. They're roaming up. They have the Realm Warp available, and don't forget that the Shen can negate a lot of the damage here.
Yeah, here it comes. Echoes doesn't even need to take it. Effectively zones them back with Kenba following up to Cerule, trying to fight their way up, but this is a 1 versus 3. The Kayle is sure to go down. The Kayle ult is dropped to get some damage, dodges away from the dash, but Warrior still going to pick it up. A punish on the overextension top.
Really nice big brain play from Echoes right there, throwing down the ultimate behind Kayle, completely psyched them out. And because they didn't have vision in that tri-bush, they didn't know if Ryze was faking out, if they were going to keep walking. Just had to take the losing 50-50, and that ended up being another kill resulting towards the Stags, as we see a force in the bot.
Yeah, easy game getting that Zenith Blade, but it's just going to walk away using the Aftershock proc. We've not really seen much of this bot lane right now. Lucian is definitely in control, as we can see a little bit of a CS lead developing there. So Lamborghini, with great laner from the previous games we saw, and is still exercising that power in the bottom lane. But from Lucian, is it still the case that you need to get ahead early, you need to spike in mid-game, or can this champion scale a bit better now with the new items?
Definitely better than before, but not as well necessarily compared to the Kai'Sa, who can still, as much as their items are a bit up in the air, Kai'Sa's a very item-dependent champion where she's only as good as her build, just because of how she gets these evolves from the passive. She can still build up to 6 items and pretty much go for whatever is best for the game. So innately, she's going to do really well in the scaling battle, but Lucian is no slouch. They can get some pretty disgusting items to maneuver these team fights, and against the hard force of a Rakan, Malphite, and a Hecarim, that's what you need, as we see a setup.
Speaking of the force in top lane, the flash Shadow Dash followed up by the damage, and Cerule has nowhere to go. Easily picked up another kill in that top side. It's 2 on the Elise, 3 assists now on Warrior with a kill of his own. This top side is going so heavily in the favor of the Stags.
Yeah, and you don't need the teleport nor the Shen ult if you bring the map to you, and every time a play even looks available, we could see Kenma just pushing the ticket over and over again, and just using this ignite on the Shen.
Well, Ranklight's actually choosing to go in a trade. They're trying very hard to hold this wave. Lamborghini's going to drop the culling, no much more mana to follow up, and now Hecarim is here to maybe punish that attempt to get some more as the ultimate comes through, and now EasyGame.gg gonna have to flash away, but a quickness and flash from Rank Flex is going to catch them up. Warrior has arrived off the stand United, trying to get a trade back onto Hannah Baker. Can they catch the Hecarim? It looks like the Hecarim is too fast and going to slip away back into the jungle. Echoes is here. No ultimate, no TP, has flash. Are they going to maybe blast cone over the wall? They are. Here they come. Can the bot lane get away from blue side? Ekus is going to stop the recalls. Hecarim is going to slip away. Can Ryze do more? Get some damage onto right flex. No Cocoon's going to land. Diamond Storm chunked down, but Kemba's dropping very low. Flashes away, has to repel. Doesn't use it and ends up trading their life as the shutdown goes onto rank flex. Aku is still here, trying to burn through that wave with Lamborghini as well. Can Renflex escape? Aku flashes forward, and the final Q will do the job. An extended dive on the bottom side and ults himself to safety.
Yeah, and real smooth moves from Ekus. They're following up with their jungler, like we said. Didn't have to use the Realm Warp in the end because it was off cooldown, but that was such an extended fight. Horia coming in with the ultimate, ended up just opting for saving the Lucian as opposed to trying to help Leona there. There was actually a bit of a communication disjoint there where Lucian started to walk into the alcove, but if they had just followed Hecarim, they could have picked up that kill as well. So, when not necessarily as bad for Hurtstuck as it could have, and ended up resulting in, I believe that was a 2-for-2 trade down there.
Yeah, I believe it was a 2-for-2. Rank Flex, however, is the one picking up the shutdown, or at least one of them. So not the most ideal target there as Aku steps in front of Rank Flex and EasyGame.gg and Kenma here to punish Rank Flex on their own. The KL ultimate comes to keep him alive. Kenma repels up, repels down. Not going to find anyone. They slip away this time.
Yeah, and as we can very clearly see, there's a lot of good targets for this Kale ultimate, as the Rift Herald is actually thrown down just to take some plates while there's forcing that play onto the mid lane.
Yeah, they're going to get a nice chunk of gold there for Diamond Storm and Hannah Baker. The next dragon is live. It is a mountain, so we're going to get an Ocean Soul or an Infernal Soul. It's going to be an impactful Dragon Pit as the lane goes on. And Heartstuck are this time the first to arrive. All 5 members here, they do not want to let Stag stack them up.
Yeah, looking at this, Horia doesn't have the ultimate available, and this is the thing, if you're not ahead of the play, when you don't have teleport, you cannot take fights like this. And the Stags being very respectful, saying, okay, you know what, our bad, we didn't prep that one, we tried to force the ticket on mid and it didn't work, so we're just going to forfeit this and, you know, get off and try and force something. Probably dive Kale again, based on where we see the Ryze and the Elise standing. They're more than likely just try and punish Cyril here in this top lane.
Yeah, and speaking of the top lane, we have Kenma here, as you say, arriving at that brush. Maybe can look to punish over the wall, start to the gromp, but dashing straight from Horia, followed up by the Cocoon, and it's another 100-0 combination from the top in jungle. Cyril, he has got to be having a very stressful time up there.
Yeah, and this Night Harvester on the Elise is pumping out so much early damage. It's just an extra 150 flat onto the Elise's base combo. With the movement speed to then close the gap, like we talked about, there's so much easy single target CC for the Surrey Stag squad. So if they can keep making plays like this around Elise and avoid big team fights, such as that dragon, we can see things like this happen.
Yeah, Rank Flex is going to commit to Lamborghini. They're actually going to get the 2-man combo and burst down the Lucian. Hecarim here to support with a TP as well. They're comboing Ekus on the backside. He gets covered by both Cyril and Daddy Justice and a shutdown onto the Kale. Heartstuck, they get the better of the rotation this time.
Come on, guys, give me like 5 more seconds to finish the point before I can say you guys are doing great. So that's what we tried to avoid when they gave up the Mountain Dragon there, because they know that if Hurtstuck get into these big grouped up team fights, they just have straight up more AoE, more stats, and they can just force any fight there. Horia coming in with the ultimate, able to do absolutely nothing because people just died too quickly, simply put.
Yeah, and now Kenma going to catch Hannah Baker, do a huge amount of burst there off the Electrocute proc onto Hecarim, but he is going to walk away, and bot lane tower has fallen. Heartstuck, they have taken the gold lead back into their hands by a couple of hundred.
Yeah, and I believe that is actually Hecarim opting for the Triforce, as the Half-Bound Axe does not build into the Divine Sunderer, so they're opting to go for more of this DPS skirmishy build as opposed to trying to tear through Horia and Easy Game GG in these fights.
There it is, completed for them as you say it. If we look at other mythics that have come through, the Night Harvester we obviously touched on, and we've got a pair of Kraken Slayers in the bot side, so not too much surprise there, but Diamond Storm is definitely looking like the stronger right now. Off the engage with Rank Flex, they are able to one-shot these squishies. Oh, hang on a second, they're going to try and one-shot a tank right here, as Daddy Justice has been dived on heavily by 3 members. The mini wave is blocking the culling, but Kenma has enough damage to follow up, and Lamborghini snaps up that final hit.
And interestingly enough, that Daddy Justice on this Malphite is opting for the tank build. They aren't going for any like AP Malphite shenanigans to just try and one-shot the enemy. They are firmly in the camp of, this isn't my game to win, I just press the R button. And if I hit somebody, that's all that we care about. That means Diamond Storm, they can do the reliable damage. If we miss, then it's on Cyril to let the enemies run into us and try and shred through them. But right now, as we can see, Cerule not doing as well as Diamond Storm relative to their laner. 1 and 3, they're getting continuously forced on by Kenma, and they're actually looking for a repeat gank again as we watch the jungler's path to this top lane.
Yeah, this time Hannah Baker is gonna be there, ready for it. Did pass over a ward, I believe, so they're gonna know that this is there, but easy game GG is here to make this a 2 versus 3. Rakan is a little bit behind. They're gonna engage into Cerule. There's a cocoon does not land, and Warrior actually gets pushed down very low. The K-Lot comes through. Can they keep them alive? And the ultimate Hecarim is here. Quickening from Rank Flex forces the flash out of Elise. They're going to break apart. So this time at least, Cerule is able to live.
Both teams not just packing their junglers, but also packing the supports. You could see the mental process of both teams heading into that play. All right. I'm Hecarim. I'm going to hide in this bush. Elise has got to be coming up here. We know they're coming off reset. Dragon's up soon. If we could get a pick here, you could get a lot of pressure. Then the Shen has to come hold it. And then on the other side, you could see, all right, if we can force a kill onto this Kayle right now, we could do the exact same back to them. And this is all just the teams trying to get ahead of the clock, get push in their top lane so they could just say, all right, we're done here, and go prepare for Dragon.
Yeah, let's see if they can make that theirs. There's 1 dragon apiece so far. We've seen firing back and forth right now. Surrey Stags look in control early on, fired back by Heartstuck on the bot side, and then Surrey Stags able to find that bottom tower as well. Now they are 5 kills to 8 with a dragon apiece. They've gotten that gold lead back in their hands, over 1k right now, with some more mythics coming through. We see the Luden's Tempest onto Echo. So let's see what this guy can do when it's just him in this team fight. Able to pump out the damage, maybe a little bit safer, but I say safer, the engage ults are online. The Malphite ult is there. Hecarim ult will be on too as well. Echo has the job now to stay alive to get that damage done.
Yeah, safe is a very abstract term when you're a mid-range carry looking at this.
Yeah, Kenma aggressively repelling forward into 4 members of the blue team, almost 5, as Daddy Justice is around the corner with Warrior still on the top side. Stand United is being held. Cerule's actually picked up that mid lane tower with the Herald as well. The focus has been split. Heartstuck look like they have more or less the control of this play so far. They've got that tower damage in mid lane, and the Herald actually gets a second charge off there too, so plenty of objective damage. Now they're moving into the river with all 5 of their members. They're starting up this Ocean Drake. Can Baker gets stunned up by Kenma, but is going to get onto the dragon. It's dropping quite low. Can Elise maybe look for a steal, or will the Hecarim get it? A quickening lands from Rank Flex and engage onto Elise, dodged by the repel. Elise is in the pit now trying to finish it as Lamborghini has been taken down. Leona is surely about to follow, but the dragon's taken by Elise. Cerule sniped out on the backside by the red team as well. Warrior has arrived. Echoes, can they follow up onto Daddy Justice? A flash forward will secure the route, will surely secure the kill. It's a kill for Rise to end up this team fight. It's 2 for 2 with the dragon for Sorry Stacks.
Yeah, solo laners for bot lane here is what we see coming out. Dragon does go over to the Elise. Everybody just ran away from the dragon pit. They thought, okay, we got the quickness onto this Elise. Let's force onto it right now again.
Yeah, dives and forces the repel once again. They get away from the gauge, but the Kai'Sa ultimate is there. The killer instinct secures the shutdown. 2, 1, and 4 now for Diamond Storm.
I won't pretend to understand Kenma's logic there. I think they would just try to crash the minion wave, but frankly, I'm not going to make sense of that one. Back to the dragon fight where things were logical in the good old days of, never mind, Rise is about to get Hecarim.
Yep, he's going to catch them in that brush once again. Echo's hanging on the spot side, but the Cerule Kayle ult comes in clutch and picks up that kill. Hecarim's going to slip away. The TP from Daddy Justice was not needed. They're just going to sweep back to the mid lane.
Yeah, so that's kind of tainted how the original play went in the end. It went in the favor of the Starry Stags. They managed to trade 2 for 2, got Dragon, and managed to push off the enemies, but an overextension by 2 of their members has resulted in a lot of their lead getting dropped on the floor. And we can see that even in these minor skirmishes, if any little play happens and it has Kayle or Kai'Sa, and it's a 2v2, 3v3, anything of that variety, it's going in the favor of the Stags because they just have the tools to enable their carries better than the other side. The Stags have this Elise as their main follow-up tool, and she has got most of the gold of the team right now. So looking at it, it's not exactly the kind of plays they want to go for. You need to see this Elise get there quick, set up, and then look for a pick. If they can't do that, they're not a champion.
For sure, and let's see if they can find something around this mid lane. Look at the absolute wealth of vision on that bot side for the red team. They will see anyone coming if they can. Kenma steps forward but isn't able to follow up as the Zenith Blade for Leona does not land. And you talked about the gold there. If we look at the gold, we saw Kenma so far ahead early on, is now only a couple hundred ahead of Hannah Baker on the Hecarim. Hecarim has managed to get back into this game very well. We can see with the 3-1-3 scoreline, when it came to these team fights, it seems like they were able to just get more done, especially around that bot lane when they were able to force.
Yeah, in the 2v2, it's going to go better for the Elise because they have these reliable tools to burst out one member. But like we saw, Hecarim doing very well in the 3v3 of the sheer amount of AoE. Perhaps easy game GG overextending here with the team looking to collapse back on this mid lane. Malphite ult available. Keep your eye to see if Lamborghini can survive this.
Yep, they're going to try and escape back to their towers. We can see Rankflex coming through. The engage is dodged out by Lamborghini at least, but Easy Game GG is going to be dived on. The Shen can maybe keep them alive. 4 members in the mid lane for blue team, only 3 for red, but they're actually re-engaging onto Malphite with Warrior, trying to get this kill as Ekus has arrived. Once again, Kaiser's got the kill onto Leona, traded by Shen onto Malphite. Now the damage is coming through thick and fast, and the Kaiser falls to Lucian. Kenma on the backside finds a kill of their own, and Rankflex is forced to escape, but it's the red team that end up coming out on top with 3 left alive at the end there.
So overzealous. We just saw that force where they not only didn't get the Malphite ult, then they don't get the Rakan knock-up onto Lucian, and they still tried to force the ticket. That was 4 people that got tagged by the Leona ult just because of how committed the hurt-stuck squad was to pick up anything out of that play. And they just don't need to. Their comp outscales, and actually we see Elise almost dying to the Baron. So frankly, they don't lose too much beyond the initial kills, and if anything, is going to mean that both teams can now just reset, try and clear out vision, and set up for the Dragon. This game isn't going to be about Barons, because when somebody loses a team fight that hard, the Kayle is going to come in, the Kaiser's going to come in, and those two will sweep the floor with Baron if they're allowed to.
Yeah, both of these teams do have quite consistently high Baron control in their games in general, so neither of them is maybe looking to able to exploit that. It's going to be how they play out these fights. It's going to be, so far, it seems like it's been quite heavily down to Ekus on the rise, and if he's able to get the job done. When he does, they look absolutely dominant and they turn the fights around. When he doesn't, they look completely lost without that damage.
Yeah, and when you don't have the flash up, you're not able to play on the Ragged Edge. And right now we can see both of these carries on Baron. This will die very quickly. While they're in the know, they aren't there quick enough.
Yeah, they do have a tank line this time, which Sorry Stags did not when they attempted it. Kenma's here though with the repel. Can they look to get it? A stun lands onto Malphite. Only the smite is still available. Knocked up by Rankflex. It's going to go so low, but at least falls before the Baron does. And blue team's going to pick it up. Heartstuck are going to take another kill as well. They sneak that Baron. They draw the red team over. They get the kills and the objective. The Dragon just spawned as well.
Yeah, they didn't even lose anything off of that play. That was just sheer audacity, running over there, taking the Baron pretty much as soon as they had the chance to respawn their members. And the Stags were just looking at the play thinking, okay, well, we should be staying up for Dragon. And just never clicked in their head that, oh yeah, that's a Kaiser and a Kayle, both at 1 to 2 items.
Oh, Kaiser once more dives straight onto a Koos and absolutely melts them with the help of Hannah Baker. Now looking for the dive onto Lamborghini. Can the kite back come through? Kayle is used. The tower has fallen. Warrior looking to try and support Lamborghini. They actually get the first kill and looks like Lucian's kited it back. Re-engage from EasyGame.gg and Kenma gets to rule very low. They're going to have to back away as Elise maybe once more with Leona. The blue team, they want to keep these Baron buffs. They escape wounded into the topside jungle.
And they managed to come out on top of that play, picking up the Baron and the Dragon, but gonna argue a bit of an overextension there. They ended up trading 1 for 1, and it's gonna eat away at their Baron timer. They could be using this buff right now if they had just gone for the Dragon, reset calmly, and then pushed out with 2 waves. They could have threatened mid and bot, mid and top, anything like this, and been pretty much unstoppable. Because you can only hard force onto one of those sides, and if you do, the other half with the Kaiser or the Kayle would have just shredded through towers. But if we look now, half of the Baron duration is near on gone, and they are having to just reclaim minion waves. Lamborghini's getting to free farm in top. So they're not really getting much use of the sneaky Baron, but they got the Dragon, I suppose.
What has been a very proactive Heartstuck throughout this game is showing that they have been winning a lot of the time, but sometimes it does not go their way. They flip in their coin. It's heavily weighted in their favor, but sometimes they are just making the wrong calls, it seems, in the favor of proactivity. And trying to get more done, trying to always push and push, and they've stumbled a couple of times. Now, they are still ahead. They're 2,000 gold ahead. Even dragons, even towers, they've still got the Baron, and they've got these strong scaling carries in the Kayle and the Kai'Sa, but let's see if they can not fumble this throw quite as much. They've got the waves pushing in now. Can they do better this time?
About 40 seconds left to Baron. They're going to try and get this bot lane tower. That's what they're committing to. They've sent Kai'Sa and Rakan to get priority here. Somebody's just going to hover around the middle area, see if Kayle goes back to clear that wave, or if they just commit to pushing further with this wave.
They're going to get that first inner tower down on the bottom side. They're going to get themselves a little tower lead now as the wave crashes in. Looks like they're still escorting it as the Baron buff continues to drain away. It is now pretty much gone. It's very almost finished as far as I can tell. Hannah Baker in that mid lane, maybe getting aggressed on by Kenma, slowed down by the smite and dashed into with Lamborghini, forces the trade of ults to get Hecarim out of danger, but now it's a 4 versus 3 on the bot side and they've got that wave crashing.
And it's an exaggerated version of what we said.
Yeah, the engage comes through straight onto Cerule, the taunt as well, but the ult's going to keep them alive. There's no Hecarim ult, remember it. Kai'Sa is trying to get the damage down. Easy game GG gets in and gets out. Now Ekus is on the front line trying to do more. Rank Flex going to burn down Leona. Kai'Sa dives in with the killer instinct to get to kill of their own. Lamborghini now trying to bring them down, and the shutdown is secured by Lucian. Warrior taking charge of this fight and pushing the blue team away. It is going back and forth. A blast Shadow Dash onto Hecarim. No follow-up just yet. Ekus and Lucian are too far behind. The blue team are still going to escape. These fights are so back and forth. The engages, the re-engages. I can never tell who's going to win.
And once again, we see a 2 for 2 coming out at the end of that fight. Now, while it stopped the Baron push, it was pretty much all but done in the end of that. So really, it's just a kill trade. That's the net result. We'll just have to see if anybody overextends here. No, everybody's safely taking their reset, going to collect themselves and get ready for this dragon up in a minute 30. Now, ideally, we want to see the Surrey Stags try and pressure their top side, potentially with 2 people, try and threaten on, get some more pressure onto that top tier 2 and tier 3 towers. If they can do that with the Shen or the Rise, potentially even both, as we saw G2 do a lot in the past seasons, then we can see them actually draw the Kayle and the Kai'Sa away. Because you can't just send one and a tank to the side, else they could just get one shot. But right now, they're just leaving Hurrier in the side lane to try and get bullied by this Kayle and avoid them coming to the dragon. But they can't really do that. They don't have the draw, unlike 2 people that could at least threaten dives onto the enemy.
Yeah, for sure. We saw Kenma there, maybe looking to get some control on this bottom side, but wards have been placed by Daddy Justice as well. It's been a bit of a quiet one for the Malphite so far. We haven't seen these huge unstoppable forces that we expect to come through. 0, 4, and 8 right now, not really having the impact we expected off such a strong engage player. You know, someone who plays Galio this much would expect better engages, but Daddy Justice has plenty of time to make that one up as these fights are still so close. As Hannah Baker now looking to maybe engage onto Ekus, going to get through and prop that spell shield, followed up by Ekus with the ground entrance. Can they get this rise down? It's going to be easily secured for the team of Heartstock. Now they've got more river control, but red team, they're going to make a counterplay on the top side. It's Cerule calls out once again, and the Zenith Blade is going to land, forces the Kayle out straight away. Shadow Dash to follow up. Lamborghini and Kenma going to wipe Kayle off the face of the earth.
But Baron not up for 30 seconds. There's no real counter-attack here. This is just trying to punish the Kayle overextending. But frankly, they weren't going to do much on the map anyway. And as long as the blue team can collect their minion waves and not let them get pressure in the middle wave, then really nothing will happen from this. But we see they're actually just trying to keep the play rolling, see if they can cheese anybody fishing to look at this Baron.
Yeah, they've got this little death brush set up, but blue team are stepping forward and coming from the red side instead. Kenma now steps forward. There's no vision in the river for the side of Heartstock. Hannah Baker's going to come in, going to get caught up, but is going to ult out and engage from Daddy Justice. 3-man engage. This is the unstoppable force that I was looking for. Lamborghini dives forward to try and get Diamond Storm, and they're going to get that kill, but now what can Ekus do? What can Kayle do? The damage is flying back and forth, but it's the red team, the Surrey Stags, that have come out on top. They've got 3 kills for 1, and the Baron is bare in front of them.
And such an oversight. Kai'Sa had blue trinket available. They could have scouted the Baron. There was no need to approach there. Yes, the enemy team has Rise and Lucian, who aren't slouches at hitting this Baron, but you didn't need to check it that quickly. Of course they were going to look for something. We already talked about this. The red team want you to walk into them. And as much as the blue team want to walk into the enemies, when you don't have your Kayle, who can just turn off any pick onto a single member, You don't want to walk in there like that. Just because you have Malphite, just because you have Hecarim, doesn't enable you to free walk into an Elise who, like we were talking about before the game, is now at their Mythic plus Lichbane spike. So they are doing a absurd amount of single target damage to the first person that has the sorry walk into her.
For sure. Once again, we can see the proactivity. Heartstuck, they're running into the pit. They want to stop this, but they're not maybe doing it in the most considered fashion. They're not maybe considering all the factors, not doing it in the cleanest way possible. And Surrey Stags are there time and time again to punish them doing that. If Heartstuck can find a good play, they will find it. But if they can just try and find it engaged, sometimes it's not good for them, as Kenma now is quite far up in the jungle, is going to catch Hannah Baker but escape over the wall. It's now Surrey Stags with the push in their favor. They're with the Baron this time. Let's see if they can do more with it than Heartstuck did.
Yeah, if you like the Fnatic Bush, then Kenma is your favorite player because they are a one-man walking Fnatic Rush. They just find a place on the map, sit there, wait for you to overextend. We'll see it throughout this series again and again, but just keep watching them. Every now and again, take a gander at the minimap and just see what they're doing. If they're not walking somewhere, they're hiding in a bush waiting to one-shot. And the only thing is, this Baron, while they're doing a decent job right now of splitting the map and trying to pressure all three lanes, it doesn't overlap with the Dragon Spawn. So this doesn't give them any extra priority for that potential soul point going over to the blue team.
Yeah, easygame.gg actually lands the Zenithblade onto Diamond Storm, and the ult's not going to follow up though. Kenma is over the wall, can't follow up with a Cocoon, is going to land on a Cannon Minion there. So an attempted force to try and get more pressure isn't going to work in the mid lane. They've got the Cannon Minion, they can maybe look to get this tower done, as Kenma can reset the aggro if they choose to. So they're going to maybe at least get an objective off this, and they've got damage in the top and bot lane as well. So not the worst for Surrey Stags. They attempted to get more, didn't lose anything though.
Yeah, we haven't seen any big plays off of this Ryze ultimate recently. I'm waiting to see if they can get something done, because that's why Ryze is such the quintessential 1-3-1 champion. As Kenma potentially overextended here, Malphite looking.
Yeah, searching potentially. The Repel and Flash are ready for Kenma to get them out of dodge if they need to. I've just been looking at the gold difference as well, which has now swung back into Surrey Stag's favor, about 1,000 gold. But looking at the way it's broken down among these champions, it's actually mostly on rank flex in terms of the blue team's advantage. Heartstuck, most of their gold lead is coming in the support position, over 2,000 gold. And then a lot of the gold for Surrey Stags is on mid lane. It's almost slightly over 4,000 gold in Akusa's favor. This is so much more impactful, you've got to believe, as the game scales on.
Yeah, for sure. Rakan, I mean, one of the champions that doesn't do all too much with extra items. They're just there to press R and fly at you.
Oh,
speaking of pressing R.
Yeah, they're pressing R real hard onto Akusa right now. Diamond Storm there to follow up as always, but is it at the cost of their bottom inhibitor? Easy Game GG, Warrior and Kenma are gonna secure that one. They've gotten one kill. Can they get more? Hannah Baker looking to engage onto Leona, forces the flash over the wall. Cerule too far to follow up. It's gonna be one kill for one inhibitor. Not my favorite trade of the day.
Well, how long can they extend this play for? Because there's 40 seconds now until this last Ocean Dragon comes up. If it goes over to the blue team and they get the Ocean Soul, they can take any team fight they wish. To be fair, they were doing that in the first place, but it does mean you can kind of just stand in front of Baron and the enemy team has to do something, because if they don't, you can just run them down outside of that on the map. And if you do, well, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you're running into Malphite and Hecarim, who, as we saw right there, can do what they just did to Ekus, but to more than one person. The dragon spawning in 10, neither team has really had time to set up yet.
Yeah, we are going to see them slowly arriving here. Warrior in the base with the Stand United. Ekus has TP available running from base as well with the ultimate too. A lot of strong item spikes are being hit there. A lot of people hitting 3 and 4 items. Both bot lanes have it. The mid laners as well have 3 completed, or actually Daddy Justice only has the 2. And I was talking about something else and the soul just disappeared before my eyes. Lamborghini's getting engaged on right now, and now Hannah Baker's ulting out to safety. Is now on the other side. The blue team is getting aggressive onto Ekus. They're trying to kite back and catch Kenma on the backside. Daddy Justice going to give their life away, but Cerule is here with the Ocean Soul with level 16. Can Ekus get more work done? Diamond Storm trying to engage Hannah Baker now, maybe looking for it. In comes the Killer Instinct, and another shutdown snapped up by Diamond Storm. Blesses the flash over the wall from Warrior, and suddenly Heartstuck, they sneak the soul, they get the kills, they've maybe got the waves. Is the game about to end in the next couple of minutes? They're still trying to engage, and they're going to catch up Warrior. Ekus is going to do some damage on the backline, and Heartstuck, I tell a lie, they get over-aggressive once again. Ekus punishes the engage as Kale is catching the bot wave.
And firmly, Echo's saving the game right there. Despite the Ocean Soul slipping away in a matter of seconds, they come back over, save Horia, and means that the enemy team does not have time now to set up around Baron. Now, again, the Ocean Soul, like we talked about, means team fights still go in the favor, but it's only a win more Dragon at this point. It helps them continue to do what they were already good at. But it doesn't save you anymore if Elise is still sat in the bush. Watch, where's Kenma going to pick? They are 2 levels down, but they can still match the smite of the Hecarim, combining that with their Q for the execute. So, on the red side, despite not having flash, Elise can repel into the pit. So, the blue team needs to be very, very careful to attempt this Baron while Elise is alive. So, watch them try and force a fight right now, as Kayle begs desperately to get bot lane prio so they can at least walk over there on their own.
Yep, they are recalling right now, having shoved the wave right into a waiting warrior's arms. They have a super minion as well, likely to bounce it right back. Kayle does have 3 completed items of Needless and a quick Silver Sash, which could be critical in these fights coming up. They've got the prime combination of Nash's and Riftmaker plus survivability. Maybe this is when we start to see Cerule really activate in this game. They've TP'd straight onto the Baron, and the flip has been called. Warrior's got the ultimate ready. Kenma's over the wall. Engaged by Easy Game. GG's going to stun up 2 carries, but not going to get much follow-up. They're going to start into rank flex, and that's gone down, and Elise steals the Baron over the wall. Can Sorry Styles win the fight? Ekus is absolutely melting them. Lamborghini as well. It's suddenly come to pieces for Heartstuck. They start the Baron, but they lose everything.
And this massive Realm Warp after, they're just going to walk it down and end the game. They got so overzealous again, and the teleport doesn't get to come through, so Daddy Justice just going to be left alone in this top lane. That is all locked, signed, and sealed for the Stags in that dramatic turnaround at the Baron.
Heartstuck going to be handed their first loss of playoffs, and it's in the varsity qualification game. Stags, they're going to go 1 game up in this series. It's looking like just around the corner for them to make it this split.
And it's very rare that you get to see an Ocean Soul go over to the enemy team and still pull it back. But we just got to see it there. Excellent gameplay, recovers it. For some reason, Heartstuck just flipped the game at that point. You could see it. The second Kayle commits to that teleport, they're saying, okay, we can't play this 1-4 kind of style right now because you have the Shen who could cancel my TP, but I can't stop his ultimate. So we're just going to forfeit the side wave. The bot inhib is down. That is the worst one for Heartstuck in that situation because, as we saw, it was just infinite pressure piling through on the opposite side to the Baron that resulted in them almost being tunneled into forcing that play there. That, as we saw, Elise managed to hop over, got the steal. The team fight was already going in their favor, and there's only so much an Ocean can do when your team is melting away by the Baron shred.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just absolutely devastating, the damage that Ekus was pumping out in that final fight. And when Rankflex wasn't able to get any kind of counter engage, wasn't able to stop Kenma like they did last time, it just absolutely it fell apart. Everything fell apart. And we said this so many times over the last few plays. Heartstuck, they make a good play. They're always looking for plays to make, but sometimes it feels like the judgment just isn't there, and they're making plays they shouldn't be making, or they're chasing too hard, or they're over-forcing, and Sorry Stags punish them every time.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that this was indicative of Heartstuck having weak champion pools this game. We saw that they clearly had things in the pocket. They had really nice theory behind it. I absolutely loved the swapping Kayle and Malphite between lanes. That was a great theory that worked perfectly, and then they just took a fight they didn't need to. So, frankly, that game could have gone either way the whole way through, and if Heartstuck can get into a similar composition and just put themselves in a safer scenario and take a few less fights, that game goes very differently.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry Stags, so many times we have personally seen them come back from an early or a mid-game deficit. They've come back from the brink of defeat multiple times. The mental fortitude on this team is absolutely insane, and they are going to look to try and push this through to hopefully a 2-0 for them if they can get it done after this short break. We are going to go to a break between these 2 games. Both teams get 10 minutes allotted for that, just to keep you guys informed. This stream, once again, is sponsored by Amazon University Esports, Twitch, Student, and Levi's 24/7. Check out the panel below to check out the membership program where you can earn points with every purchase. We'll be back in just a few minutes.